What's up, nerds? Welcome to our weekly reaction, wrap up, whatever the devil you want to call it, for WandaVision episode 7. Before we begin, spoilers abound. If you haven't seen the show, again, why are you here? Go watch the show, then come back here. We still want you here, but just not yet, you know. We're giving something away. What are we giving away, Jerry?
We're giving away on the very last episode of WandaVision, we will be announcing who the winner of the Wanda Funko Pop is.
That's right.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below.
That's right. Like, subscribe, comment below. Also, just FYI, if you really like us, which, I mean, who doesn't? You want to make sure that you click the little bell so you get notifications when we put out new stuff. We have lots of new subscribers. And we want them to be able to see stuff. We want you guys to know when stuff gets posted. Okay. So also, if you interact with us on social media, you'll be entered to win. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at We Them Nerds. Let's talk about episode 7. To make it really appropriate, though, should we have like a 10-minute glitch where we just sit here and have like an error screen?
Yeah, I thought it was a fitting thing so everybody gets so angry at the end of the show for the standby, please.
Right.
And then like you have everybody get on there. I mean, like literally the nerds atmosphere all decided to click right at 12 o'clock all at the same time, crashing Disney.
Yes.
I mean, what else is not like you're having to focus on parks? You know what I mean? Like you should really have this ready to go. Right.
Take a little bit of your park budget and put it into IT.
Yeah, put it into a better server.
Right. They got the same servers as Parlor. So after the glitch, which for a minute I thought was actually part of the show, but after the glitch, the show begins. We get kind of an office sort of feel to the show, or a Modern Family feel to the show. There's a lot of like looking at the camera, like side interview kind of feel.
Yeah, definitely the theme was very The Office.
Yeah, I got that too.
I also liked in it there when it's obviously just Wanda's name repeatedly throughout it, but there actually is the smoke Wanda like it is in The Wizard of Oz. Surrendered to Murphy.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we get, it's kind of fitting that in 50s and 60s sitcoms, the lady of the house was always very put together and had everything under control. And Wanda did at the beginning of this series, right? And as we get farther along in the series, we get the treatment of more modern sitcoms where the moms usually have these moments where they're like about to lose it. They're kind of out of control. And that's kind of the Wanda that we got on this episode of WandaVision. Not the WandaVision we watched, but the WandaVision that's being put out from Westview.
Yeah, almost like, she had 0 Fs left.
Right. Yeah. I especially like the part where the boys asked her, oh, what happened to Uncle P? Or why did Uncle P say that or whatever? And she's like, you think I have answers? I don't know anything. Maybe everything's meaningless. And the kids are all like, what?
Oh, mommy's just resting her eyes. Oh, our game's not working. Mommy's resting her eyes. If I had to say it again.
Right. That's, we're getting to the point in WandaVision where we're starting to get a little bit of PTSD from our childhoods.
Yeah. Agatha ends up being CPS. But what did you think? So, you start watching her as she comes downstairs and you notice that the reality is glitchy.
Yeah. So she acknowledges that she has expanded the world. She's like, oh, how do you feel when you purposely expand the world that you've created? Like she's acknowledging like I'm doing this, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, she comes downstairs. The game is glitching out, right? But then the cereal, which was the sugar snaps, by the way, I thought was clever. The milk is glitching, and then later on in the show, everything's glitching in her house, all the different furniture and stuff. But I thought that they're doing a really good job of showing that she's not holding it together.
Yeah.
And I thought that it was a cool little nugget when Billy, who of course becomes Wiccan, a member of the Young Avengers, and has similar powers to Wanda, he said that his head was bothering him, that it was noisy.
Yeah,
Right?
he also he's like a telepath also. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, she's also a telepath. Very reminiscent of Professor X speaking about in the X-Men about how he hears all these voices, and that's why he uses Cerebro and everything so he can focus more.
Right. Yeah, that was, I thought that was kind of a cool little nod. You know, I'm a big Young Avengers fanboy. I really want them to make this happen. They've got all the pieces in place, so you know, I'm like hoping that they keep going that route. So we get the intro. We see Wanda kind of barely holding it together, and then we go to the outside of the hex, and we see that Hayward, director of Sword, and all of his remaining crew, because a lot of them became circus freaks as the bubble expanded, right? Well, we see them kind of standing outside, and it appears like they're ready to roll, right? Like they're thinking about going in.
Yeah, I mean, well, I from what he's saying is that they plan on attacking the hex. You know, today's the day.
Right. He says we're launching today, right? Which,
yeah,
as we'll come to see later in the show, it doesn't necessarily go that well.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
I think too, you know, like even in the house, you know, there are situations like when she's pouring the milk, how it glitches between the almond milk and then to the carton, and when she's pouring it, you actually see that missing child's poster on the side of it. Which then I was thinking, well, I mean, if there's things that are inside this world that are from the real world, we're only talking about 9 days. So these cartons could have been, you know, 9 days from the snap. So
right.
Snap back. And so these could have been like, you know, actual missing people who came back, you know, to the earth. I was waiting for help. But you just
They've unsnapped.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So they're back. And I mean, or I mean, also the idea that maybe just the idea that people out there are trying to find their loved ones that are stuck inside this town.
Right, right. I have a theory on that milk carton, which I think we talked about last night, but we'll come back to it. So we see Vision. He wakes up, right, and he's at a circus, and he sees Darcy, who was swallowed up by the hex last episode, right? And she is supposed to be part of the circus. She doesn't remember Vision. She thinks he's trying to pick up on her.
Yeah,
which I thought was pretty funny. And then he gives her the old zapparoo, and she knows what's going on, right?
Well, then, you know, you have also this whole theory of people saying, oh, these sometimes people really on the internet really read way too much into stuff. Look at her, look at the TV. There's this logo on it. She's obviously this far, you know, fringe group that's on. No, it's because she's wearing a sword jacket when she goes in. So it's S's on her uniform, the same way that the muscle builder guy had a big S on his stomach. But if you did notice the S that was on his belt, it was very similar to the S that's on the Century character.
Sentry?
Yeah, Century, whatever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is similarities, but I mean, it's just converting stuff from the world in.
That's for us.
Yeah.
Those things like the S on his belt looking like Sentry, or those like curvy S's on her shirt looking like some obscure hero from, you know, the 70s or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that's not really going to do anything. It's for people like us to dig around on the internet and be like, hey, did you see that? It's
definitely Darcy's going to be Mephisto.
Random sword extra confirmed as Sentry.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. So what's your take on this this whole thing with the man on the ridge? We had a whole video about the man on the ridge, and the whole internet is up in arms about the man on the ridge. And as you know, Monica and Wu are driving towards this staging area or whatever, we're like, you know, salivating, like, we're gonna see something big, and then it's unnamed, or should they give her a name, but just like random military woman.
Yeah. Well, I did notice that I still think, and I'm sticking with my theory, you know, as controversial as it may be or not, that it's Thalos' daughter. And I believe that those soldiers that are in that field are also in disguise scrolls. And I think that there's a comment that's made that actually points to it, where she says, my mother would basically would, be thankful that you did this for us. And she says, we aren't the only people that are loyal, or something similar to that, or we are loyal, like basically saying like that their loyalty to her mother goes more than than just what's here. Right. Who would be loyal to Monica especially would be that group of scrolls that were in that in Captain Marvel that were hovering above the earth that needed to get out of there, and Monica was one of the people who got them away and got them to safety. So I think it's a hint, a nod and a wink to the idea that these are people that you're not, these aren't what you're expecting them to be, these characters, you know what I mean?
And Tiana Parrish, who plays Monica, mentioned that even after episode 7, she's still saying the reveal of Monica's contact is going to like be this big shocking thing. So we put out a video, guys, that if you haven't already watched it, go watch it. I'll link it here, where we talked about our top 4 choices for who this mystery person might be. And Jerry, as Jerry just mentioned, Talos's daughter, a Skrull who was in Captain Marvel, was one of his choices. Several other people on the internet have said similar things. One of my picks was Reed Richards, who I still think is a strong possibility. And then the latest name bouncing around a lot is Blue Marvel, who is romantically linked with Monica in the comics, has a military history. So that's one that people are kind of thinking might be introduced. I don't think it's something like it would be a cool character to introduce, but I don't think this is something that would make people be like, oh, it's Blue Marvel. Nobody gives a shit about Blue Marvel.
I also just think that, you have a character like Captain Marvel, who really hasn't even been established in the MCU. She's had one movie and about 20 minutes of footage in Endgame and Infinity, if you count the end credit scene. So I don't see them pushing through a whole new character like Blue Marvel, who's basically, unless they're going to do some kind of like Marvel Corps or something like that, who knows? But I think it's way too early for that. Now that's the exact opposite for Monica Rambeau. If you don't know, Monica Rambeau was Captain Marvel before Captain Marvel was Captain Marvel.
Right.
She's an established character all on her own, and although she takes up the mantle of Captain Marvel, their power sets are very different. So You're not, what I mean, and so. And she also has several different names that she can go by. Right. So you don't have to even call her Captain Marvel like she was called in the comic books. I think we all don't assume that she's going to be. I don't think that that's the way that they plan on going.
No, I don't think so either. You said there that you don't think it's time for them to establish, a new character with a similar skill set. Well, like they're establishing Monica Rambeau. So I agree with you. They're not going to start this nascent hero in Monica Rambeau and then be like, oh yeah, here's Blue Marvel.
Yeah.
They're this person is going to be someone who is either literally just there to support Monica and to be a connection between Monica and other parts of the MCU, or it's going to be a jumping off point for a completely different part of the MCU with, some tangential connection. That's why I think Reed Richards is a good choice. If you didn't see that video, one of Jerry's choices was Dr. Hank McCoy, Beast of the X-Men, which I think is also a very solid choice. Both of those characters, Mr. Fantastic and Beast, are these genius members of these teams that have not yet been introduced in the MCU, and I think that would be a really great choice. I was bummed.
You're bummed?
I was, yeah. I really
you didn't see the character.
I was sitting there like edge of my seat as they were driving up, and then they drove the thing. She shook the hand of Goodner, is the name of the military woman, and I was like, okay, it's not anybody. And then the rover kind of drove out of the truck, and I was expecting to see like the lid come up, and John Krasinski was going to come up and be like, Reed Richards, or like nothing.
See, I wasn't disappointed, and I wasn't expecting anybody, big. That's why I think that the Thalos's daughter character is more for the idea of nostalgia. The idea that like in my head, as soon as I thought of that idea, like millions of other people thought of also, but I imagine this idea that, a lot of people say that from the first episode where Monica, phases back in, and they mentioned that, basically Captain Marvel could have taken Thanos, and she has some kind of hostility towards um, uh, her, hearing the mention of her name. I think that this idea that she wasn't there for the 5 years where it happened, where her mother died. Here's her best friend who is out gallivanting around the world. And so basically her mom died alone. So I just think that you have this idea that I don't know where I was going with it, to be honest with you. But I got on a tangent on that, and then I lost my train of thought. But what I did imagine was the idea was that maybe Talos, his wife, and his daughter, if her mother was obviously dying of cancer, and then they went into remission. That you see them taking over these positions of Nick Fury and Maria Hill and all these other things. I would imagine that they had a bond with that family after Captain Marvel has left, so that possibly maybe they took over. Like maybe she never even knew her daughter had been snapped out. I mean, that's maybe possible. They phased into her and gave her what she needed for her. You know what I mean? So there's this constant, give and take where these people have created a family bond with these Skrulls. So that's what I saw. Plus, if we've learned anything, especially from this episode, they pay out what they tell you they're going to pay out at the end.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you're watching these episodes and this is that person. This is that person. Everybody's like, oh no, it can't be possibly that person. You get to episode 7, you're like, oh shit, well, I guess I was right.
Right. The reason why I've kind of been leaning toward your theory of Talos's daughter also is just because after the trailer for Falcon and the Winter Soldier came out, and you saw the sort of little Easter egg in the background with all of the Skrull faces mounted on that wall. And we have Secret Invasion coming up on Disney Plus later in the year. Like, I think that a Skrull connection, even a small Skrull connection, would be a good connective tissue between this and these other properties that are gonna, be involved.
Yeah, and when you say something like "I have a guy," right? Even if it's a female Skrull playing a guy character, she knows that this person's, in disguise, playing as another person. She's not going to throw that person under the bus, regardless of what relationship they have. She's going to go through the end with it. So who knows? I mean, that that woman could have came up, and that could have been the person that we were waiting for the whole time. She just changed into somebody totally different. You saw Talos come out of the water, and as he's coming out of the water, he turns into a female surfer. I mean, You don't think that people are going to be like, "What up, bro?" They're going to be like,
Yeah.
So
I know. And when you got shapeshifters, there's all kinds of
Mystique was a president for a whole movie basically.
Right.
Like nobody's like, hey, that's that girl. They're like, what up, Mr. President?
No, I know. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I just I got my hopes up, and I was let down by that. But I wasn't let down by the rest of the episode.
No.
Moving on a little bit here, we've got right before we cut to Monica going and doing all of that. Agnes came and took Billy and Tommy so that Wanda could have some me time. Took them to her house. And I thought there was an interesting comment that Billy made where he said, I like it here. It's quiet. Mm-hmm. You're quiet. Meaning like he could tell that there was something different about her, something that was not like the rest of the people that he had been around. And you could see the look on her face like, oh, yikes.
I think though too, anybody who, I have family from back east, so I know a lot about like the Salem witch trials and everything else. There was a huge Easter egg in that scene letting Wanda know that she was a witch.
What's that?
She looks at her and she says, is there anything I can do for you? And Agatha looks at her and goes, I have this strange mole on my back. Do you mind taking a look at it? And she's like, oh, I know, boundaries. Witches in Salem were murdered if they had odd looking moles on their body. It was literally a sign to the Salem witch trials. Like, oh, here's a little, you sure you don't want to take a look at this? You know what I mean? She's giving the hint.
Right.
I also think that scene, she says, I'm not going to bite. And then she's like, I actually have bit a kid. I think that like, because we now, you'll figure out by the end of the episode, I think she probably has bit a kid.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely. When once Monica, gets into the vehicle and she tries to go through the bubble, she can't.
Yeah.
Vehicle, right? So she gets out of the vehicle and then she goes through herself, right? And as she's going through, you see all of these different, versions of her kind of wiggling around, and they converge, and then her eyes glow blue and she comes out of the bubble and she sees everything in this like weird, unique way. And we get the impression that something has changed. Monica has changed. The hex has given her some kind of a different ability, right? And she takes off to go to Wanda.
Yeah, once you when you're watching the scene, actually, there it's very similar to when she's coming back from the snap. You know how she's hearing those voices from when she was little. During that thing, as she's pushing her way through, she's actually hearing her mother talk to her as she's going through it. And I believe there's about a half a second where you actually see her as a little girl, also being pulled out from her. And then when she comes through, her eyes are glowing, and she's looking around the earth or the west view, and she's seeing it just a little bit off. And I think that was pointing towards her photon powers, being able to see electrical currents, basically.
Yeah, like she's seeing everything in layers of energy or something, rather than just like actually seeing stuff. So she takes off to Wanda's house. She busts in and she starts.
I was actually very impressed by how fast she ran. I don't know if you noticed how she was kicking up dirt as she was doing it.
Maybe she's going to be the next speedster on Flash.
Maybe
we say didn't have
20.
One. So, yeah, speedster number 430. Anyway, so she gets to the house. She starts trying to convince Wanda that all this stuff is happening, and Wanda goes full wackadoodle and hexes her out of the house. But Monica is just like not. She lands and she does the whole superhero pose, and Wanda seems taken aback a little bit that she's not able to just sort of like get rid of Monica.
Yeah.
And then who comes in? Agnes.
Yeah. Well, I actually noticed that while they were having their dialogue with each other, I'm guessing maybe, I mean, it's hard to not give it away. So, but maybe the being preoccupied with what the scene was happening there, how aware the secondary characters start to becoming to the conflict that's going there. Normally they just keep walking past and play their parts, but they actually you see Dottie, and she actually she stops from smelling the flowers or the roses and looks up at and watches glaring, and she looks a little bit off compared to what we've seen her from in past episodes. And then the postman from the last one, who is now a Amazon delivery guy or something, is stops, and he actually really watches. There's a couple across the street that are walking with their baby, and they stop and they really watch it. And I think it's this idea that they're aware of what's happening at that moment.
Right. The spell is broken, as it were. So Agnes comes over and
carts her away.
Yeah, she kind of directs her away, and we get that is the scene where we really get the impression that Agnes is not just the quirky neighbor.
Yeah, Agnes is perfectly aware of exactly what's going on.
Right. We've known the whole time that she's not just the quirky neighbor, but as for those people who are just watching the show with no sort of background, they're like, oh, why is she, because she talks to Monica I'm gonna F you up.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's the first time she's shown her cards that she's known the whole time that Monica or Geraldine can't stay in this town. She needs to go. She's aware of what's going on here.
Yes.
And it's so and she makes it perfectly clear to her, because Wanda kind of is starting to break, where she's starting to realize, wait a second, maybe she's right. And then once Agatha gets her or Agnes gets her hands on her, they start walking away, and Monica basically says, you got to take this all down. And she says, don't make me hurt you.
Yeah. So we get Monica just sort of stands there kind of stunned, and we see Agnes take Wanda into her house. Wanda sits down on the couch.
I think you're missing a whole part, though.
Am I?
Yeah.
What am I missing?
You're missing the whole scene with Darcy and Vision, where she basically explains to him that you were created by this for this reason. You were created, then taken by your Jarvis for this many years, and you were turned into a killer robot, basically, from Ultron, who then became hyper aware, and you basically saved the Earth, and then you drove your girlfriend to kill you before Thanos then brought you back just to kill you himself in front of her, and that's why she's crazy.
Right.
And then she says to her, but I honestly think from somebody who's been watching this, you truly are in love with each other. And it kind of is the break for Vision that maybe Wanda isn't the villain.
Yes.
So, and during this whole time that this is going on, they're trying to make it back to Wanda, but every time they try to get to her, there's roadblocks in the way stopping them from going. And the whole time you think, and even Vision says it, my wife's trying to keep me here. But I don't think it was his wife that was trying to keep him there.
Yeah. I think she's trying to keep him close. Like she's trying to have him, but I don't know that she's necessarily like the imprisoner.
I think that, you definitely, somebody's definitely trying to stop them. And then at the very last thing you see is him basically phase out of the truck, and now he's going to just fly there himself.
Yeah. Right.
So now we're to the part at that.
Yeah. Sorry. I've been waiting for this witchy stuff like the whole season. So, we all know Vision's backstory, whatever. So yes, but in terms of the show, he now has been informed of the idea that he was born of several, attempts at world domination, and anyway. So yes, Agnes takes Wanda to the house. And that, if I'm not mistaken, that's the last we see of Darcy and Vision on this episode.
Yeah, you don't see them again after
as
that.
soon as he zips out of the ice cream truck, that's it, or the funnel cake truck.
She's still stuck at the red light.
Which, by the way, why don't we have funnel cake trucks that just drive around our town?
I guess because we don't live in Westview.
Good Lord, I'll take some weird witch mind control to get some funnel cakes.
But they don't got like Mexican corn though.
That's true. That's true.
Now what?
If Westview was in California, there would be an elote truck. So that's it for Vision and Darcy on episode 7. Darcy sits there being like, I guess I'll just drive there, and Vision's Supermaning his way through the city. So when Wanda gets into Agnes's house, she sits down on the couch. She sees Yo Gabba Gabba, great show by the way, on the TV. There's like a half-eaten sandwich. The bunny is there, which we'll talk about the bunny more in a second. She says, "Where's the kids?" Agnes says, "Oh, maybe check the basement."
Yeah.
I don't know, just maybe give it a shot.
She also notices there's a fly on the wall.
Yes, there's like a very large greenish kind of like
off-looking fly on the wall.
Yes, which has connections to Mephisto, who we have talked about many times.
Also playing on the thing, if I was a fly on the wall kind of thing, there like something else is watching in.
Right. So I was kind of laughing to myself thinking about like, I'm watching this TV show at like, at this point after the delay, it was like 12:30, 12:45 at night or whatever. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, the bunny is Nicholas Scratch. The fly is Mephisto. And I'm like yelling at my TV in the middle of the night about animals being comic book villains.
But this is different than any other night.
Yeah, really. This is my life. Anyway, so she goes down in the basement. Tell us about the splendor of Agnes's basement, Jerry.
Though, if you're anybody who knows anybody who lives back east, most people's basements look like that. I mean, it's just full of a bunch of crap covered in plastic, and then there's always weird vines and rotting stone. But they walk through, and you obviously can tell as they're walking through the basement, it's getting further and further where it's some kind of catacombish, very old worldy looking hallways that lead her into a den of sin. No, like a like a magical fortress of fortitude. I don't know what to call it. It's like a spell room. I don't know.
Yeah, the spell room.
Yeah, it's like another sub layer of cellar, like a wine cellar, but for spiritual stuff.
But for devils.
For the devils.
Yeah. So they go down into the devil basement.
Yeah.
And Wanda's looking around like, what is all of this? I don't even know what's happening. And then the door slams and we see Agnes, and she says, "You didn't think you were the only witchy woman in Westview." And then she introduces herself. Huh?
Only one with magic in Westview.
Yeah. Yes. And then
I think she gives herself like the best opening of any, of any villain being brought on TV. She gave herself like her own opening to a TV show, and it was amazing.
Yes. She announces that her name is in fact Agatha Harkness, which we have been saying since episode 1. I have put out a video about Agatha Harkness on this very channel. We knew this was coming, Gerald.
Her eyes flitter purplish color, and then you see a kind of same kind of mind trick that Wanda first did to the Avengers when she first was introduced in the Avengers. But you see it's like this purple haze that goes across her eyes, and then she watches and beholds upon the idea that Agatha has been the one who's been producing this TV show the whole time.
That's right.
And actually, it says it in the titles.
That's right. Now this is like way left field. I don't think there's really a connection, but I noticed this as I was watching it. When the little purple goes in Wanda's eyes, there's like these kind of lines that go like out from her eyes, and it made me think of Baron Mordo from
It's Dormammu or Dumont, but whatever the heck that guy's name is.
Yeah, I'm sorry, not Baron Mordo, Dormammu from Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
which made me wonder if there's any kind of connection with the. Yeah, there's not.
It might be. You never know, because that was dark magic in that. So
this is true.
Things what see, then you watch it, you see it, and you're like, I mean, obviously, like, I wasn't surprised. I had the whole time I knew it was gonna be her. But I was pleasantly surprised with the way that they decided to go with it, like where it's like this idea that we've all known there's something been off. We've all known that she was probably gonna be Agatha, but then when you watch how crooked she's been behind the scenes. You know what I mean? It paid off. You know what I mean? Right. Like this idea that she's like, when things are going wrong, she's there. You watching her mix her magic, and like you watch her literally change from a witch's outfit into her outfit as she's walking up to the door, and it goes to you actually see Pietro at the door, and you see that she's the one controlling him,
sitting on the front lawn doing a picnic.
Yeah, she's having a picnic. I've said from the whole time, I do not think that Pietro is Mephisto. I do not think he's Nightmare. I think he is Pietro from the multiverse, and I think she is directing or making him do the stuff. So that's the reason why he's always a little bit off. If you notice the attitude she has now, after she kind of changes her personality, kind of thing, to show you that she's Agatha, is very similar to his attitude he has when he's talking to his sister. Very, off-putting. Saying things that normally people wouldn't say to a sibling, you know what I mean? And so I think that's what it is. Like, she's working him like a puppet.
Could be. It very well could be. A couple things about Agatha. Number one, I was surprised to see Agatha being played as like a straight up villain, and perhaps that's not how it's going to end up.
I don't think so.
Because in the comics, she's not.
No.
She's
actually a very big protector of children in the comics.
Right. She's responsible for looking after Billy and Tommy. She's responsible for looking after Franklin Richards. She's kind of a mentor to Wanda. And, it was a little bit weird to see that she was being played as this like, ha ha ha, it was me all along kind of like villain character. So it makes me wonder how that's going to go. Right. And then, no, I guess that was the only thing. I kind of mixed my 2 points together.
Here's my thing I've noticed about Agatha. I've had this comment with you, I think now for like the last 2 weeks, or at least the last week. I don't know if I've ever said it on the show, but I have been committed to the idea that her brooch is the shards of Mephisto that causes the children to be born. When you see Agatha, when the children are born, in the first episode that they're born, she's wearing the brooch, but when the children are born later on and she's outside, the brooch is gone. After the first time she sees them. When she goes to the house and she starts rocking them and she's in the full 80s attire, the brooch is gone. When she goes today in the episode, you see her in the very beginning, she comes to the house and she's with the boys, the brooch is gone. When she goes outside and she grabs Wanda, the brooch is gone. When she mentions to Wanda they're playing in the basement, the brooch is gone. But when Wanda goes downstairs and she acknowledges that the children aren't there, and then she says who she is, when Agatha walks down, the brooch is there. And if you notice, there's 3 people on the brooch. There's 2 smaller figures and 1 person in the middle. Right. I think that they are the shards and the shards are held within that brooch. It was all a glimmer, basically.
Yeah.
They're not fake.
Right.
And that's the reason why Wanda couldn't control them. It's because she didn't create them.
Right. Yeah, there's been talk about that brooch pretty much all season, and there's definitely something to it. And it definitely would connect to the idea of, the kids being there and not being there. Maybe since in the comics, Agatha is more of a protective sort of figure, maybe she's kind of like playing a role to protect the children. And, you mentioned the fly on the wall and Mephisto possibly being involved there. Maybe Mephisto is watching what she's doing. And as soon as Agatha gets the chance, maybe she's going to be like, you have to listen to me if you want to survive and you want your children to survive.
Want me to blow your mind? Really blow your mind?
Sure.
Here's my real theory. Agatha isn't Agatha. There's somebody else in that town that's Agatha. You know who I think Agatha is?
Dottie.
Yep.
Ah.
And that's why she's watching. When she looks up, she's watching the whole thing. She's smelling the roses, the devil's in the details, all these comments they make. That Mephisto is Agatha that we know now. And he's playing the part of Agatha. And if you notice, Dottie's whole thing has been for the children. She's there to protect the children.
Right.
Agatha is there to eat the souls of the children. I just blew the whole world apart.
Hey,
when that shows I'm right, I better get a phone call from Disney.
Hey, you know what? This is definitely going to bring out some comments.
Yep. And I hope you do. Comment and like. Maybe you'll win a toy.
Well,
but I don't think I'm far off. I've always said it from the very beginning. I thought there was something up with Dottie.
There could be.
She controls the whole thing. Agatha really, or who we thought, Agnes. I'm so thrown off now.
Now she's Agatha.
Agnes's whole thing the whole time was pointing you at Dottie, but making you think she's the villain.
That would be something.
Could
be. So for the first time, there was a mid-credit scene. All of these episodes, I have been faithfully watching the entire long, 6-minute credits, being like, "Where's the scene? Where's the scene?" No scenes. This episode, there was a scene.
And if you cut off thinking that there wasn't going to be a scene, you need to go back and watch it.
Right. Yes. So if you
pause
haven't
here,
watched,
go watch it, then come back.
Pause here, watch the last 6 minutes of the episode, and then come back.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome back.
It's not even 6 minutes. I think you'll fast forward till you get to it.
Right. So in case you didn't see that scene and you just want to hear it described by us, it is Monica, who, interestingly, after Agnes and Wanda walked off, I was like, well, what's Monica going to do now? Just sit on the couch and eat some cheese puffs or whatever?
Damn.
Yeah. Welp, golly gee, I guess I'll just get out of here. She is trying to open the basement. She does open the basement to Agatha's house. And she can see these glowing purple magic vines. And then all of a sudden she sees that Pietro is standing behind her and says the classic Oscar-winning line,
Snooper's gonna snoop.
Snooper's gonna snoop. So, and that's where we cut off. So we know going into episode 8, Wanda is in the clutches of Agatha Harkness in the basement with all kinds of purpley magic stuff, including a book that looked like it had the devil on it. And we know that that Monica is interacting with Pietro on the outside of the house. She knows there's something goofy going on in the basement. Well, what's going to happen? Tune in next time to find out. Well, yeah, that's where we left off.
I'm still going to just go ahead and put it out here. I think Dottie's Agatha.
Could be.
It's not could be. I think I'm right. I think I've broken this whole thing.
That's it. Feige, call us.
If you think about it, you look at a comic accurate depiction of Agatha. Does she look like the Agatha we're getting on Disney, or does Dottie look like the Agatha that we got from the comic books?
I mean, Agatha's mostly just a really old lady.
Older lady with white hair.
Yeah.
Sure. She has this whitish blonde hair.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
It could be.
It always seems like she kind of has an idea, like she's almost there. She's figuring out what's going on.
Yeah.
She's putting spells on Herb while he's cutting into the wall trying to explain.
Yeah.
I think I'm right. Dottie's she's gonna be Agatha.
I don't know. Big takeaways from the episode for me. Of course, the big validation that it was in fact Agatha Harkness. Big boo-hoo for me, at least. Not getting the man on the ridge reveal. Hoping we still get that. I don't know. We're supposed to. I don't know. Overall, for me, it was not my favorite episode, But it was good. It was good, and I feel like it just kind of is like propelling us headlong into the next episode. I assume on the next episode we're going to see Tyler Hayward and Sword's kind of assault on the Hex.
Yeah, I think that this episode was kind of like if you're watching Endgame. Nobody says that Hulk's scene at the diner is their favorite episode or favorite part of the movie. You know what I mean? There's always a little bit of filler, but there's going to be a bang for your buck with it, where he then you get to watch them go jump through the quantum realms and go pick up stones and everything else.
Right.
But I thought the episode was great. I figured out that Dottie's Agatha, and I think that the next 2 episodes, I think the movie or the TV show aspects is gone. It's just going to be real world-ish, Westview-ish kind of stuff, but it's not in this TV-based kind of idea.
Yeah, because I think now the glamour has been removed, and it's basically just going to be Wanda's interactions with Agatha and any other people or beings that might be involved, and then we're going to get the other half of it, which is Monica and Pietro on the outside of the house, but inside the bubble. And then we've got what's going on outside the bubble with Tyler Hayward and Sword.
Yeah.
So what did you guys think of episode 7? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, like. When you subscribe, click that little bell, the notification icon, so that you can hear our expert analysis every week. Expert analysis. That's right.
Oh, I mean, you watch when I break that. It's gonna be here.
All right. Don't forget to follow us on social media at We Them Nerds on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
I mean, we can go ahead and say that's the strangest idea, or we can keep pointing out lampposts and saying it's Mephisto.
The lamppost as Mephisto confirmed. The UPS man is Mephisto. Confirmed.
What's in those boxes?
What's in the boxes? It's Doctor Doom. He's in the box.
Oh, you did forget one part though, Nexus.
That's right. The Nexus. We're gonna have to do a video just on the whole Nexus thing.
Yeah.
But yes, the commercial on this episode, the Nexus, it has a whole connection, a whole gigantic thing that we could take another half an hour talking about. Wanda is one of these people that is the guardians of the Nexus in the comic books. It's a whole time and space thing, and it connects to the TVA, which is going to be featured heavily in the upcoming Disney Plus series Loki. So,
and they make it a point to say your doctor must prescribe.
Oh,
Dottie.
Yes, that's it. Thank you. Be good. Be good to each other.
Stay nerdy.
Ah! All right, guys. Later.